Why can't we all just get along? Former New Jersey Governor Jim McGreevey and Rabbi Joseph Potasnik are here to share their point of view. So that's the question. Why can't we all just get along? Rabbi, go first.
You know, walking down the street the other day, and I'm sure you've seen many times, these little children, young kids holding onto a rope, all walking together. I don't think they see difference. They know that this person is a classmate, a friend. And when they get older, somehow they see adults who behave differently. And we have a school, the reading, writing, arithmetic. We're missing one R, respect.
Jim?
You know, I think particularly after World War II, there were so many things that we had in common. Whoever we were, men and women, they were coming back from the war. There was a sense of pride in being an American, the sense of challenge, whether it's the veterans' benefits, building communities, raising their children. And I think there was a common ethos, which is unfortunately fractured. I'm not quite sure identity politics and social media has only exacerbated that fracture, but there was a sense of a commonality. There was a narrative of America.
So are we losing that commonality?
I tell you what bothers me, Marcia. We as faith leaders, we preach unity in the midst of diversity, that we're all part of one human family. That's what we say on the inside. But you know, houses of worship have windows because what we say inside we have to see on the outside. We don't see it as much as we need to on the outside. People have not learned to live with difference.
But why not?
Well, I think if you go up to Hyde Park and to the FDR Library, which was a treat. I went up with my younger daughter, and you just didn't realize, Rabbi, like what America faced. I mean, it's the Depression, it's the rise of Nazism, it was like so much was going on, and that FDR talked about four freedoms and talked about America, and the only thing we had to fear. So it was about calling a common sense of purpose. And I think that has been lost.
So are we talking about the idea that maybe prosperity and unequal prosperity has fomented an ability to respect, an inability to respect? Is that what you're saying?
You know, Marcia, you and I spoke early before the program about the hatred we see out there. And I remember after the tragic shooting in Pittsburgh, Tree of Life congregation, the rabbi got up and asked this question. When we said never again after the Holocaust, did we put a question mark there or an exclamation mark? And I'm afraid to say that whether depression or prosperity, the hatred at times was latent and then becomes more overt, but it's always there. And we still haven't been able to eradicate it. So I think when it comes to never again, if you ask Jews that, they're not ready to put an exclamation mark there.
But it's not just Jews. We have a disrespect for everyone. I mean, when you see somebody harassing a halal cart owner, or you see somebody going up to somebody in the street because they don't like what they look like and punching them,
yeah,
or throwing somebody, an Asian woman, under a subway car. I mean, it's across the board.
Yeah.
And the question is, how do we stop it?
So I think it's you have to teach it. You have to teach respect. I mean, you know, we talk about, the rabbi talks about, you know, reading, writing, and arithmetic. I think, you know, and it's what you teach as values among children. And different nations do it differently, but part of it is understanding the strength of America is, you know, this journey, creating a common vision out of many different peoples and teaching people. I remember my sister told me that there was St. Patrick's Day, and so, like, you know, when she taught at school was mostly Indian and Pakistani, and she said, and like, what does St. Patrick's Day have to do with? But she turned it into a lesson about the immigrant experience, and that we're all immigrants, and that we're celebrating wherever we come from. But I think that you have to teach in school certain values, and so what happens, I think those values go to what the rabbi said is about respect, but it's deference. And the other point, Marcia, I also think you know, we all watch news differently. My father told me when he came back from World War II, everybody watched CBS, ABC, NBC, and now we watch news from many different places, and that has a fractured impact as to what we're listening to.
Rabbi, you think it's social media?
I think social media is both a blessing and a curse. I think it's contributed to, you know, the intelligence highway. At the same time, it's used to demonize and destroy people. You know, I mentioned Jews first because we've learned over history the one who hates the Jew today will hate somebody who seems to be different the next day. You know, I have come to see, and I see this with schools of higher learning, colleges, you can be smart, but not necessarily moral.
Yep.
We saw, for example, during the war, educated people built the extermination camps. Educated people wrote the Nuremberg laws. So,
Wannsee Conference.
Right. Education without morality is incomplete. And unless we show that example, unless we teach it, we're lost.
So I wonder what role politics plays in all of this. You know, we're seeing a rise in the support for hardline leaders around the country, and I mean, around the world. And why are we turning to these so-called strongmen as opposed to people who have a softer point of view?
Because strongmen seem to have the answers. And so, you know, democracy is messy, life is messy, and so to engage people requires different opinions and engaging and trying to achieve consensus. And I think a strongman says they have the answer, and it's could be somewhat attractive, but it's a false notion.
Yeah, and a strong man can be
what role does politics play? Are politicians to blame for some of the hatred that we're seeing?
I think so. I think for many people, politics has become the religion of the day. We see what's happening. A lot of people are not walking into houses of worship, but they're involved in political parties. Yeah, and political leaders, I think, have also contributed to this divide. You know, you have to be confrontational. You have to be in your face. The idea of convening and bringing people together for some, that's a sign of weakness, and it shouldn't be.
So why do you think that darkness and negativity, and to some extent hate, seem to have so much more power than good? Because
I think, Marcia, it's emotionally easier to...
Hate is easier?
I think... We're reflexive. It's quick and it's nasty, and it's, you know, the great exchange between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. They would write letters back and forth, and they had very different opinions. But by writing a letter and they mailing the letter, it was slow.
But it showed respect.
It showed respect, but it was a slow process. I think, to go to the rabbi's point, is Twitter is immediately. It's fast, and you react, and you're not thinking. And so I think, you know, I don't want to lose this point about values-based education, and you know, I can make an argument that also faith plays an important role.
Is hate easier?
Yeah. You know what? One of the statements in the Bible, in our respective traditions, thou shalt love your neighbor. And I remember someone saying that's the most difficult commandment, especially when you have a neighbor like mine. Because to get to love someone...
Was it your neighbor? No.
Because to get to love someone, you got to know someone, you got to listen to the pain of the other person. So hate is much easier. You don't have to communicate. You don't have to cooperate. You just have to confront.
Well, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York.